Alright, this is SciTorp, and the time has come already to release the third of my Three Witches build series. The Katinga class, a SciTorp AoE debuff, positional debuff, rear firing SciTorp PVP build. Um, the main parts of that is SciTorp, but like Sci/Torp. For the Torps, it's science effect torpedoes, and for the Sci, it's broken up into two parts: AoE debuff with a focus on the control amplification skill point, and then positional debuff. I've had a mixture of light positional debuffs in my other two witches, but I get pretty serious with it on this build. Yeah. It's a Katinga class. The V'ger Avenger, and oh, okay. Here it is, and yeah. It's named the V'ger Avenger because, well, it's a reference to the whole big theme of the Three Witches, which is science torpedo, and it was a torpedo fight against the V'ger space entity where the Katinga class first debuted. So, as a theme with the Three Witches was trying to dominate or perform highly in the spam rich environment of PvP queues, to that end, I'm trying to get revenge on the big giant blue space problem, science problem, and in particular, it's an aft-firing torpedo build in reference to the last Defiant torpedo the last Katinga class ship fired, which almost looked like it was meant to try and intercept the V'ger energy weapon that disintegrated the Katinga moments later. Ish. Yeah. So, yeah. Even on the retreat, Klingons kept fighting. Not a Klingon captain, but whatever. Yeah. Like my other Three Witches demonstration videos, I'm in a PvP queue right now, hoping for that solo queue, but I'll get in this one if nothing happens. And while that's going, I'll talk about the build, or while I'm trying to build that up, I'll talk about the build and explain it, and then I'll do a few matches with it. Yeah, I should also mention the final most important spiritual part of the Three Witches builds, the SciTorp element, which is there because it makes me think of Star Trek VI, where Spock and McCoy get into the torpedo launcher, and yeah, so I really like that element of it, on my side characters at least, for sure. And if you bring together the right side torpedoes, you'll have a lot of control effects for a control amplification build that with torpedo spread you can turn into AoE. Yeah. I guess it's time to get into the specifics of the build. Let's start with skills, because I think this is where the meat of the build will really expand. We've got, first off, max points in basic torpedo damage. I want my base hits to be as high as possible because that's the base of what gets buffed by big buffing abilities. If that's my theory. Uh, Advanced shield capacity, because this is a battle cruiser or cruiser, so I feel like I should be able to stay in the fight a little bit longer, so I built towards that a bit. So the more shield health, the harder I'll be to vape, so that's that. 2 points in shield healing. I could probably take 1 or 2 of these points off and have the build be just fine. A min-maxer of true winning would put those points in an exotic particle generator, but that ain't me. I don't seek the bleed through, so yeah. Or maybe one could be better in shield regeneration, just because the gear of this build gives a lot of shield regeneration. A nice bit, anyways. Maybe some. I think it's nice so far, but I'm not a numbers guy, so try to look it all up. Good luck. Continuing. Max hull capacity for hull health, so I can survive the vape attempts and bleed through. Max hull healing, so this synergizes really well with the command and strategist reps. Well, maybe mostly just the strategist rep. But yeah, it's just with all the bleed through, it's in my opinion, it's become more important to hull heal than shield heal. Didn't used to be that way, I think. But anyways, I really like having it now. We've got a little bit of electroplasma flow just to get into the fight quicker. We've got max impulse expertise for max speed and turning because that's super key. This build is a high engine energy build now, and it's being positional is a huge element of it, so I want to be in just the right position. All 3 in control to try and make all my control effects do better, and then control amplification to bring it all together in burst damage resistance debuff. Makes it all worthwhile right there. Every control effect that happens basically activates this, or that's the way I choose to interpret it. When control used on foe, minus 35% or minus 35 all damage resistance rating for 10 seconds. The thing is, it only lasts 10 seconds, but you can get a lot of damage resistance debuff from this. You drop 2 of these, you'll match a sensor scan, I think, for some comparison. Yeah, a high aux level sensor scan though. Then we've got advanced targeting expertise, accuracy, so I can hit. If one of your torpedoes whiffs it, that's bad news. You know, you've got the window, and that's about it. Defensive maneuvering max because I don't want to get hit and I don't want to get critted. Maxed hull plating, so damage resistance to almost everything, soon to be everything. Yeah, basically, yeah, I like hull health and damage resistance first, and then you get what you can, and you hope a healer can fill in for the rest. That's my ordering philosophy for these defensive abilities. 1 point in hull regeneration. This was basically the last point I spent. This might be better put somewhere else. But I do have a nice little bit of hull regeneration on this build. It's just like it's there basically. Maybe solidly there, hopefully. I don't know. These gear secondaries, there's just so many. They're just, yeah, tough to call. Uh, Shield regeneration. I have a nice little bit of shield regeneration built into the gear of this build. So I've got 2 in that, and I just don't have any. I don't have any bridge officer shield heals. My only shield heal on this build is the Iconian 2-piece. So yeah, for those people going, what? That's kind of why I'm saying this here. Advanced shield hardness for shield damage resistance, which is, I think is really handy for tanking. Weapon amplification, 2 points. 2 points, just as much as you get something noticeable. Crit H and Crit D. I'm gonna miss all the Crit H. 2 points in hull penetration and shield weakening, basically plus damage versus hull and plus damage versus shields. This was really nice because it helped me take the shields down and let my torpedoes do real damage. But it'll be out the door, I guess. Then we've got shield mastery and shield absorption for the tanking it gives me in the shield category. For bonus skills, I have battery expertise. There are no hangers on the Katinga or Tier 6 Connie. There are no, oh yeah, I picked maximum hull capacity here because I just don't have any faith to have in this game to give me real natural resistance to spam. Like I have 210 control on this build, as you'll hopefully see later at the end when I do my full stat list in a crystalline entity. Yeah, but I take the hull capacity just because. Transwarp over sector space travel because I like to just get there. Stealth over shield capacity. That's because I like being able to set up my attack. I don't know if it actually works. Apparently stealth detection is pretty damn good these days. But so far it's been moderately successful for me. Well, I haven't PvP'd with this character much. But I think I've done okay at being stealthy. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just we'll see. We'll see. But I figured I might as well try. Um, Perception because uh, yeah, the opposite of that basically. You know, I do have high ox power. Um, you know, I bet I can see them when they get close. Maybe? I don't know. Probably not Romulans. Threat control over hanger weaponry. I don't know why though. Uh, it might have been better to pick hanger weaponry just so I never go up like my base, never go above my base threat. Well, no. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the first hit is the most important one, so whatever. I guess I'll take it. Projectile critical chance over critical damage because compared to the mods for these stat changes, you're getting more critical chance. I think that's how it goes. So I pick the critical chance. Then, yeah. So, SciTorp control style. Yep. Command is my primary specialization for torpedo damage. A little bit of damage, healing, tanking. Damage and tanking. And boost morale. A nice little clear all medicine pill in PvP to make it all go away. strategist for hull healing or tanking, healing, a little bit of damage, and a gross amount of immunity and feedback pulse. Perhaps before the patch. Diversionary tactics, super key for side control amplification builds. It's AoE placate when you're not threatening, which gives you that control amplification, hopefully. And the ability gives you bonus damage based on how many targets you affect. Really nice damage booster for this build. And then we've got cooldown reduction, which was really key right here with attrition warfare and maneuver warfare. Is that more damage? Yeah, that's the damage part of diversionary tactics. Yep. So we get shield health and hull health from these, which is nice. For traits, here we'll see mostly damage and things that further focus the purpose of SciTorp or area debuff. Superior accurate for hitting the targets and hitting them harder a little bit. Fail-safe scrambler. I'm not a big fan of oh shit buttons on builds, but this one is 10 km AoE placate for control amplification with basically no limit to targets or something, or just a ton of targets. Yeah, but 10 km range, and helps you get out of those hairy situations and maybe start a comeback. Inspirational leader for bonuses to everything on bridge officer abilities. Intimidating strikes, key SciTorp element. Confuse on torpedoes occasionally, yeah, which triggers control amplification, and it can steal you the occasional once in a blue moon heal. Control, oh, this one's mean. Slightly disable spammy. I don't think I go full disable spam with this build, but I get close with this ability. Pretty nasty. Adds a disable to, with this build, jam sensors, scramble sensors, and tractor beam repulsors on this build. So I've got 3 things that can trigger it on here. Psychological warfare to make all my control effects better. Even though it's mostly just little ones, I still gotta try and say I'm pushing them. Fleet coordinator for 2% all damage per team member, damage, team size. Operative for crit H and crit D damage. Superior projectile training for projectile damage. I only have 3 starship traits active because I couldn't afford 2 of the traits that I wanted to have on the finished build. And I wanted this build to perform as close as it could to the end desire without making it perform better, because I had taken some silly tanking trait. Let's see here. Load viral warhead. Very fun for SciTorp. Just a light disable on the use of tractor beam engineering team or science team. But also for me it gives control amplification, so that's what I really like it for. Unconventional tactics, damage on brace for impact. Basically, it's too easy not to, like, doing damage is a goal of this, and just having brace for impact active all the time has almost been good for me on doing alphas. Improve critical systems for giving me crit H and crit D on the use of emergency power bridge officers. Um, Yeah. Here are my bridge officer abilities. Wait. Whoops. Space reputation. We have torpedo pre-fire sequence, torpedo damage, and targetable torpedo flight speed. We have precision for critical H, critical chance, advanced targeting systems for critical D, critical severity, auxiliary power configuration offensive for plus damage and plus accuracy on aux power level, run high aux. And then viral engine overload. On critical hit, I debuff speed, flight turn rate, and engine power. So hopefully I get critical damage on critical hits. The really big hope is that this is once per 30 seconds per target. I hope it can be AoE, but I doubt it. I've got all the active space cookies. Significant ones are this, which give me AoE control amplification and AoE slow holdish type stuff. And bleed through damage, which is gross. This boosts my psi skills and makes me cloaked while in combat for a little bit, which is very helpful for running away or setting up alphas. Affecting Tetrion Cascade just because I don't use it enough. Deploy sensor interference for an AoE placate, which would give me control amplification, hopefully. I use attack pattern Omega 1 for staying alive, getting where I need to go, and boosting a little bit of damage. Torpedo spread 2, because the Torps are part of the Psi package. Tactical team for surviving. Electromagnetic pulse 2 for disable spam and thus AoE control amplification spam. Scramble sensors 1 for AoE control amplification, AoE invasive control protocols, and AoE cooldown extension, which you'll see come from a DOF. Evade target lock for a 10 km control amplification application. Jam sensors 1. Wish it was with catastrophic overload, but it's not. Just invasive control protocols for now. A Hall heal that helps me tank psi spam. And tractor beam repulsors. This is the key reason I say my build has a positional debuff element. Tractor beam repulsors, I think, might just be the most powerful ones in the game, possibly. And the reason I say that is because with a DOF, and even without, tractor beam repulsors allow you to, well, mainly with a DOF, allow you to control an opponent's position in relative to yours. Like most control abilities, just they hold or slow, and you still have to do the maneuvering. This will take their ship and put it next to a specific place on your ship according to a set of factors which can be predicted and built around and flown around. Yeah, and as the V'ger Revenger, the final ship in the Three Witches, it's a big part of the reason why I've saved it as the final one. Ulur has the lowest amount of damage out of the Three Witches, but because of tractor beam repulsors and maybe some other positional, or maybe mainly because of tractor beam repulsors, yeah, I think Ulur has the most chance of success in obtaining victory. Um, yeah, because it's a strong positional debuff, and that goes back to my theory or how I basically like to complain about abilities that remove your opponent's ability to play. Like your opponent isn't probably, unless they escape this, probably isn't going to be controlling their ship. Um, it's going to be me in control. Well, there's a lot of debuff clearing going on at high level PvP, which helps with this. But still, I've got 3 hooks with this ability, um, and I use that or try to use that to set up AoE with the other AoE abilities. And mixing that up is been a hell of a ride, super fun, and I think it'll be really operational and effective in PvP. Uh, uh, According to my first test, I don't have the survivability ultimately needed with this build, but usually I can get my buff alpha off, which which I think a team will really like. Um, yeah, but continuing to the engineering abilities, we have emit unstable warp bubble 3. It's a damage debuffer. It does control amplification, so it's AoE control amplification too at 4 km. Uh, it disables fighters, hazard emitters, and platforms and ship separation. And yeah, uh, probably the second biggest element in the positional debuff AoE function of this ship is an ability I literally just started using today, Chronometric Inhibitor Field, which is a slow and a damage debuff and a damage over time. I don't like having the damage over the time because it's basically bleed through, but I think it only gets up to like 500 per tick in space or something. Not a whole lot, I hope. Yeah, emergency power to Aux 2 to buff all of this. Oh, I guess that buffs my EPGs, which is gross. But hey, the Aux power is just so good for this build. Engineering Team 1 for attrition warfare and disable clearing. Yeah, so it's basically hit them with the debuffs and tractor beam repulsors, or hit them with tractor beam repulsors and the debuffs, or something like that. And then go for a ride. Yeah, I think it's time to get back to the gear. Well, I should do my traits. I use the TOF buffs for my science ones for the control, but the drain does help my drain torp, even though it's not really worth mentioning. My tactical buff is a TOS buff. No, this is my engineering buff. Um, and I didn't really care for the engineering TOS buff on this build, so I took a pirate. I'm not playing a Klingon, so I didn't feel bad about using a weird old Nausicaan. And I took the damage and stealth. Uh, my other TOS Psi Klingon, 23rd century. And my 23rd century tactical Klingon. This is where I found out you could use ridged heads and stuff for your TOS Klingons, which is really nice. So control and drain, well, whatever. Mostly for the torp, the front torp. And is that them all? Yeah, I think that's all 4 of my buffs. Wait, where's that tactical one? Oh, here he is. Yeah. Yeah, the tactical one. Accuracy and defense. For hitting and not getting hit or critted, even though it's minimal. But hey. All right. Now it's time for the gear. The SciTorp, or the torpedo element, will be really heavy coming up here, and set bonuses. Up front, I have the advanced piezo photon torpedo from the Lucari reputation. This is my front torpedo because I think it's the strongest standalone torpedo in this collection. Now, of course, the Terran torpedo does more damage, but this thing I think is better for buttering your opponent up, and if I'm shooting at them from the front, that's all I really care to be doing. Yeah. Because I'm on the defensive. If I have to fight them facing forward, that means I'm playing on the defensive probably. So this is the thing that I do to try and counter with that. It's crit H heavy, so it encourages getting lucky, and it's got the shield damage resistance strain for encouraging your friends to help you out. Then it's two-piece combo. The piezo, the advanced piezo Polaron dual cannons. Nice little prog guns for this build at the moment. They give shield and hull regeneration. So yeah, like I said, if I'm fighting forward, it's a defensive fight. The two-piece for this build, or for this item, is really good for the build. Photon projectile damage. This is a photon torpedo damage, so I get to focus all on one torpedo damage type, which is really nice. Starship drain, whatever for the torpedo, I guess. Pour on weapon damage, which does nothing for me. The Terran Dual heavy cannons, they're bleed through cannons, but that's not their real source of damage. Yeah, I'm not boosting Disruptor though, so I won't be seeing that. They're basically just prog guns. And they're two-piece and three-piece I get. For the Terran weapon set, it's 13.3% projectile weapon damage. And then secondary torpedo launcher, a clicky that launches a torpedo after you launch a torpedo, but like a basic torpedo. It's nice, from what I hear. The Undine heavy biomolecular disruptor turret up front, so I can have that shooting backwards even while I've got all three of my control torps, or all two of my control torp and my finisher torp firing at the primary target. So this is just a nice big fat bolt, which looks great shooting anywhere from your ship. Like you're really putting some oof into it. Yeah, it has a control proc, and it's three pieces, pretty solid for an AoE control build. The two-piece gives you disruptor damage and 2% increased chance to drop its control effect, a slow. And then the three-piece is an area of effect clicky that makes your turret target a bunch of targets and guaranteedly apply the slow control effect, so it becomes an AoE control effect for sure. The proton cannon from the gravimetric torpedo set. Basically, I have this just for the three-piece. Its two-piece is photon projectile weapon damage and critical chance. And its two-piece is 10% critical chance with photon projectile weapons, and also 10% critical severity. So just a nice beefy little bit of crit H with that stuff on all my torpedoes. I'll do the bottom torpedoes and then the gear just to finish weapons first. My opening torpedo, which I like to open with right now, is the biomolecular photon torpedo. I just feel like it has a higher rate of proccing than the gravimetric torpedo, and so for right now, I think it's been better on AoE. It has that slow effect, just like the heavy biomolecular turret, which it combos with. My secondary butter-up torpedo, the gravimetric photon, about to be buffed, I think, in my opinion. Yep, that 2 and 3 piece from the set. Great for photon torpedoes. And it triggers AoE Rift for AoE positional debuff, though light, and AoE control amplification. So, the gear is the deflector and shield are from the Klingon Honor Guard set. The set bonus is torpedo damage, auxiliary power, and hull regeneration. And mostly for the torpedo damage and auxiliary power, though, is why I use it. But the shield is just a nice, big, fat, juicy shield. And it gives... Oh, and it has a placate, which, which helps control amplification, I hope. The deflector is fairly useful for this build. It gives me hull capacity for tanking, electroplasma systems for getting in the fight quick, stealth for being sneaky and setting up things right, and exotic EPGs. I really don't like having this on the build, but it was too good to resist. This is my only 20 EPGs on the entire build. Yeah, I wish I could dodge it, but hey, 50 control expertise, that's not bad, even though it's mostly from the ultra rare mod on the deflector. And shield drain or starship drain expertise, which I don't really care for, but it helps my drain torp a teeny bit. Yep. The impulse engines and warp core are from the Iconian set. Very speed focused set, or for these two pieces anyways. Resistance to control, which is basically just a not worthless ultra rare mod. Defense, which I like. Engine power, and at 100% throttle energy damage resistance, which I really like. The warp engine. Oh yeah, the two piece is the shield heal. It's green, so it's a good looking shield heal for Klingon ships. Is this the warp core? Yeah, the warp core gives me engine power, max engine power. Not that I really use it, but well, the engine power I do. Engine to shield power, which well, in PvP where you want to be going fast and have a ton of power in your engines, that's really, really good actually. I feel like warp core efficiency, which helps my low power subsystems miraculously. Cooldown on transwarp, hot restart for tanking. Hull regeneration and shield regeneration at full impulse. For devices, I have the red matter capacitor, offensive power through auxiliary power, and also helps me defend myself. The temporal negotiator for cooldown reduction. The subspace field modulator for defense, emergency situations. Kinetic amplifiers for torpedo damage, which I still haven't used one of with this build. Engineering consoles are the Xenotech resilience modules, because these boost kinetic and energy damage resistance. They give me hull penetration on my weapons, which I like. And the thing I really like is cooldown reduction on my specialist bridge officer abilities, which at one point was cooldown reduction on all bridge officer abilities. we've got, and as you saw, I do have those Specialist Bridge Officer abilities on here. The Terran 3-piece console, the Ferrofluid Hydraulic Assembly, hit points, weapon power, auxiliary power, and shared torpedo cooldown reduction, which is nice. But honestly, I really gotta ask why we have shared cool torpedo, a specific shared torpedo cooldown timer, and like, why would it ever need to be more than a fourth of a second in the first place? But moving on. Um, yeah, the Terran 3-piece I get? Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been through that. Torpedo quickie and projectile damage. The Grav Torpedo Dyson Set console. The Proton Particle Stabilizer for weapon power, meh. Engine power, okay. And Electroplasma Flow, which I'll take. And Proton Weapon Damage, which is, well, maybe if someone uses this, that might be good. The hydraulics compensator from this compensator? That says compensator, right? Okay, yeah. For engine power, which I'll take, auxiliary power, which I really like, and accuracy, which is nice, and flight turn rate, which is nice. And of course, all torpedo weapon damage consoles with crit D as the modifier because I just want the big hit. Oh, that's basically the only way I'm gonna get the kill. I feel like, um, yeah, uh, yeah, and I try to get a nice little bit of crit H for all my primary weapons on this build. So, you know, I think it's been wise so far, but we shall see. Um, I think it's just the duty officers now. 3 projectile weapon cooldown reduction officers, because in a SciTorp build, the more torps you put out, the more Sci spam you put out, and thus the more control amplification you put out. The Dino DOF for reversing tractor beam repulsors and pulling ships towards you, which combos really well and with a aft firing torpedo build. Jasinga for my Katinga, a placate on non-threatening torpedoes that hopefully gives control amplification, and Gruetta for cooldown extension on scramble sensors. Pretty messed up one right here. Used to be, well, honestly, I'd imagine it's still widely, well, there's a lot of debuff clearing going around builds at the moment. Um, so hopefully not as hated as she used to be, or these biologists. Yeah, pretty mean thing to do in AoE. Um, yeah, but I'm trying to take down like the PvP gods basically of this game and bring a pug against them, or at least just some high level players. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it for the build. Um, Jeez, yeah. You know, did I mention? I just. Well, I also I hope it will be really operational for using tractor beam repulsors and being an aft firing build. I'm hoping I'll really be able to switch people up with a build that fires from its aft end, and hopefully play safer with a battle cloaking build. Pulling away from that fight always. Uh, I want to just like pick teams apart with this build, even if we're losing. Did I miss anything? The traits I'm missing for my ship traits are catastrophic overload for AoE disable on jam sensors, and right now, though I might change my mind, standoff for front shield facing damage, and weapon disable, which would hopefully trigger control amplification, just like hopefully that catastrophic overload disable. Yeah. Have a little glass of water. Oof. Oh. Clicking on the details. It's supposed to be a surefire way of making the queue pop soon. Maybe I can try and boost myself for some future videos with this build. Tempting. Oh, yeah. This one first. Not even gonna do that one. So I was thinking of using the temp ops ships trait. The temp ops ship trait that you get from finishing temp ops. Regeneration on reversing. If there's a build for reversing, I think this is one of them. Any aft firing build, I bet, would make a decent reason to play with that trait if you're bored. Okay, this queue is taking a long time to pop. Maybe if I could make people believe I want to PvP, they'll join the queues. Oh, look at all those numbers. Who knows who could be in these queues? Hmm. You know, it may be time to just start putting videos together to make this. Hmm. Darn. Oh, looks like I'm gonna have to try and combine videos.